Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to share with you how to cut and install cornices. Now, as you can see, I've had an extension done here and I need to replace some of the cornices. So there's a cornice that's going to be going all the way around on the top to there, and then I've got cornices that have to go up there. So for corner pieces like that, if you remember short to long, it helps you out quite a bit. Whereas on this particular side where I have a corner going in the opposite direction, if you remember with this one, it has to be long to short. So long to short on the external corner, short to long internal corner. Because this is an extension and I don't really want to replace that whole cornice. Here's just a quick tip when you're working with the cornices. My cornices are 55 millimeters. So when you're going to be cutting into the corner, always remember that you're going short to long. And the distance from there to there has got to be 55 millimeters. So then you're going to be cutting the angle that goes like that. So that the next one can slot in there to close that whole gap in. So the first wall that I'm going to be doing is the one that has got external corner. So now, as you can see, the measurement for mine is 76 centimeters. Now because I'm going from long to short, the shortest part of the piece is going to be 76 centimeters. So when you're cutting, you're going to have an extra 11 centimeters onto your corners so that you get the 5.5 centimeters or 55 millimeters on either side. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm measuring the distance so that I know I've got enough. So I've measured the point here, which is the 87 is what I need, because my wall is 76 and this 11 makes it 87 centimeters. So I've marked those ones like that. When you're cutting your cornices, it's advisable to try and get a mitre which is suitable for a 55, 75 and 90 millimeter cornice. Now you have to just bear in mind that the angles that you cut are slightly different when you're cutting an internal corner or an external corner. Now when you're cutting the cornices, you'll notice the mitre goes like that. So you have a wide angle at the top and a very narrow angle at the bottom. Now the wide angle is always going to be placed on the top of your cornice. And to cut an internal angle, you place the mitre on the top, making sure that you balance it on both sides of your cornice. And when you're cutting, you place it like that. Put your saw flat against the left hand side of the saw, so you're cutting at that angle, and the piece that you're cutting off is your throwaway piece. So that's to cut an internal corner, and as you'll notice, the internal corner angle is like that, so that when you put them together they lie flat like that. When you're cutting an external angle, once again it goes, the mitre is at the top, but you have to cut it so that your angle is going away, so it decreases from the top to the bottom, so it's reducing, so that when you put them together, your angle for an external corner is going to be able to come outward. Now to cut that one, once again you've got to place your mitre on your corners, but you're going to be cutting it on a different side, and the side that you're going to be cutting on is the side that you're going to be keeping. So when you're cutting it, your angle has got to go in the opposite direction. So when you have a look at this one, if you're cutting it like that, the angle is going to be going in the opposite direction, so it's going to be decreasing in size. So now that is actually going to be the bottom of your cornice, and this one is going to be the top of your cornice. So make sure that when you cut it, you've got your saw completely flat against the side so that you can get that decreasing angle. And just rotate your piece of cornice to make it the easiest way for you to possibly cut it. So if you are able to cut like that, that's great. If you can't cut this way around, just rotate your cornice so you get a comfortable position for cutting. When you're cutting the cornice, try and work on a flat surface. What I've done is I've just taken 2 pieces of wood so that I've balanced my cornice in the middle, so that when I cut it, it doesn't just fall off, because then it ruins your angles. So if you can do that, it will help out quite a lot. Another thing to note is when you've measured your wall, if you're measuring from this point to there, that would normally be my 8 centimeters, which is what I need for my particular wall. But when you put the mitre on, it's actually going to make it a little bit shorter if you put it on the exact mark. So you're going to lose quite a bit, so it's going to be a bit short. So if you measure this section here, it's no longer 8 centimeters. So you have to measure from the bottom part over there. And then you'll notice that there's about a centimetre difference where the measurement goes, and you line the mitre up with that particular mark. So when I'm going to cut it now, I'm lining it up with that mark, which will give me my 8 centimeters here, which is the width of my wall. I'm just going to be cutting them with a fine tooth saw. So there we've got our corner piece all cut. So you can see you've got your 90-degree angle in the corner, and it's all sitting nice and flush. So that's the external corner piece. Good idea. Once you've cut your cornices, put them up on the wall and mark exactly where you're going to be placing them, so that when it comes time to gluing, you know exactly where they're all going to sit and line up. So the next one I'm going to be doing is, I've got an external angle, which I'm doing as the long to short, and on the other side I've got an internal angle, so I've got a short to long. So now what you're doing is you're measuring the length of the wall, so you measure from that point to the point where you need to cut, and then just cut like that. After checking that the cornices all fit properly, I've marked where I'm going to be gluing them in. So now I'm going to mix up some of the cornice cement and start gluing them in. I'm going to be using this Gyprock cornice cement. Before you start mixing it up, make sure you've got all your tools that you're going to be needing before you mix, because you've only got 60 minutes of working time with this, and only mix up what you're actually going to be able to use in that particular time frame. So, and when using the cornice cement, please make sure you're using the appropriate safety equipment like gloves, safety glasses and a mask. I'm just going to be mixing mine in a little ice cream container, and I've got a spatula and a little cornice tool. But the other thing that you must have handy, because once you put the cornice up, you need to have them nailed in place. So you're going to be placing a nail on top into the ceiling and at the bottom of them into the wall. So make sure you've got your nails and hammer ready for once you've put them into place. I've just poured a small amount of the cornice cement into my little bowl, and now I'm going to mix that. Now, it's always recommended that you start with your smallest piece, so I've only made a very, very little bit because I've only got this tiny piece to put up first. So it takes a little bit of time to put these up because you've got to Now we're going to put the cement on the back along that side and this side. Now you want to put a generous amount in and about a centimetre high on the cement. So I'll show you as we go. Don't forget to butter the joints as well. Once it is in place, just clean up the edges with your tools, like that. So I put the nails in to support it, like that. So it's all holding in place now. Once you've cleaned off most of the excess with your tool, now take a damp sponge and just clean the area. Try not to wet this section, which is the cardboard section of it, too much. Now that you've wiped all the excess off with your sponge, now you must just leave that to dry for at least 2 hours before you remove your nails. Now that the cornice cement is dry, you can remove the nails. And then all you have to do is fill the holes with some more cornice cement and sand the corners a wee bit. So I finished sanding and filling all the holes, and now it's ready to be painted. When you're putting up very, very large ones like that one, it's always advisable to have 2 people put it up, because it's very difficult to do it by yourself. But because I only had a small one like that, and those ones, I could actually do them all by myself. If you need to join your cornices together, what you have to remember is when you're joining them, you need to do one of the cuts at an angle which is for an external corner or cornice, so the angle is going down that way, and for the other side you need to do an internal angle cut, so that when you put them together you get a nice clean flush finish like that. And then you just have to cement them together. See, the existing cornice and the new cornice have come together rather nicely, so you would not even notice that they were not the same.